You swore to yourself never again. Never again would you get involved with someone like that. Never again would you ignore the red flags. Never again would you let anyone treat you that way. And yet, it happened again. Maybe it came in different packaging, perhaps with a different face, perhaps with different words initially, but deep down, the same pattern. The same dynamic, the same type of person finding you as if you were emitting a signal that only they could pick up. And you are right. You are emitting a signal that was installed in you long before you were even conscious of its existence, a signal that modern neuroscience can now detect, and that Jung mapped psychologically almost a century ago. But here's what no one tells you. The problem isn't that you attract narcissists. The problem is that you don't know why you attract them. And until you do, the pattern will continue. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening. Not with vague theories, but with specific neuroscience, with the profound psychology of Jung, and with a protocol to finally interrupt this cycle. But first, I need to explain something that will change how you understand relationships forever. In May of 2024, researchers used machine learning to map the brain networks associated with narcissism. What they discovered was unsettling. The identified networks spanned regions in the frontal, temporal, and parietal lobes, including areas involved in social cognition and empathy. But most importantly, this network significantly overlapped with the default mode network. The default mode network is the brain network responsible for self-referential thought. It's the part of your brain that thinks about yourself, that constructs narratives about who you are, that processes emotional experiences. What does this mean? It means that narcissism isn't just a behavior pattern, it's a structural pattern in the brain, a specific way of how the mind organizes itself around the self. But it goes even deeper. The default mode network is also responsible for processing what others think of us. That's why the narcissist is so obsessed with image and external perception. And that's why they constantly need validation. Their brain literally depends on external feedback to maintain its narrative structure. Jung identified this decades before neuroscience. He called it ego inflation. When the ego becomes so central that it consumes all psychic energy. When the persona, the social mask, merges with the identity. When there's no longer any difference between who the person really is and who they pretend to be. And this psychological structure, this neural organization, creates a specific hunger. A hunger for something the narcissist can't generate internally. A hunger that can only be temporarily satiated by another person. And here is where you enter the equation. But here's the part that directly involves you. Researchers have discovered that empaths and narcissists have something surprising in common. Not only does their brain chemistry appear similar, but both struggle with nervous system regulation and look to others to help them regulate their emotions. The critical difference lies in how they do it. The narcissist avoids the emotions of others so they don't have to deal with their own. The empath absorbs the emotions of others, often unconsciously, as a survival strategy. And here is where the pattern begins. Jung explained this through the concept of the complementary shadow. He observed that the narcissist and the empath function as opposite sides of the same emotional coin. One hurts others to avoid their own pain. The other absorbs the pain of others to avoid their own power. Read that again. The empath absorbs the pain of others to avoid their own power. That's the key that most people don't understand. You don't attract narcissists because you're weak. You attract narcissists because, on some level, you're avoiding your own strength. And the narcissist, who is an expert at detecting unclaimed power, sees in you exactly what they crave but can't access in themselves. Jung called this shadow projection. It's a perfect psychological dance where the rejected parts of each find a temporary home in the other. But why you specifically? Why you and not someone else? The answer lies in your childhood. And modern neuroscience can explain exactly how this works. Most empaths grew up in environments where they had to manage the emotions of other people. Parents, siblings, authority figures. They became the peacemakers, the fixers, the emotional sponges. Not because they chose to, but because it was necessary to survive. In 2024, Dr. Alan Shaw explained on the Huberman lab that the right hemisphere of the brain dominates development in the first 24 months of life. And this hemisphere is responsible for non-verbal communication and emotional attunement. If during these critical months you were the emotional regulator of your family, your brain developed differently. You literally built neural circuits dedicated to detecting, absorbing, and processing the emotions of others. And these circuits don't disappear in adulthood. They remain active, constantly scanning the emotional environment, picking up signals that others don't even perceive. Huberman explained in the episode about relationships that our nervous system learns patterns of connection in the early years and then repeats them automatically for the rest of our lives, unless we consciously reprogram them. If you've learned that love means taking care of the emotions of others, your nervous system will automatically seek out situations where you can do that. It will feel comfortable in discomfort. It will interpret chaos as intimacy. It will confuse intensity with connection. And that's exactly what the narcissist offers. Emotional chaos that seems like intimacy. Intensity that seems like love. An endless problem that seems like purpose. For the narcissist, you're like a beacon in the dark. You emit a constant signal of emotional availability, of capacity to regulate, of willingness to absorb. And they, who desperately need external regulation because they can't regulate themselves, are drawn to that signal like a moth to a flame. But here's what makes this even more complex. You are also attracted to them, not despite who they are, but because of who they are. Jung explained that the shadow is almost always found in projection. You see in the other something you don't recognize in yourself. For the empath, the narcissist represents something fascinating. The ability to put their own needs first. The ability to not worry excessively about what others feel. The freedom to simply exist without carrying the emotional weight of the world. Unconsciously, you're drawn to what they represent, even if consciously, you reject their behavior. And that creates the perfect pattern of mutual attraction. They see in you what they can't access. Empathy, connection, the ability to feel. You see in them what you don't allow yourself. Freedom from other people's emotions. Self-preservation. Being centered on yourself. Carl Jung called this the transcendent function. The psyche's tendency to seek balance through attraction to opposites. The introvert is drawn to the extrovert. The thinker is drawn to the feeler. And the empath, who gives too much, is drawn to the person who takes too much. But here's the problem. This search for balance through another person never works, because true balance can only come from within. And as long as you project your undeveloped parts onto someone else, you'll never develop those parts in yourself. And so, the cycle perpetuates. Attraction, projection, disillusionment, separation. And then, the search for the next recipient for your projections, and the dance begins. In the beginning, it feels magical. They seem to understand you like no one else. She seems to see you in a way that others don't. The connection is instant, intense, overwhelming. Jung explained this. He said that the narcissist functions like a mirror for the empath's unconscious parts. They reflect back an ideal image, but in reality, it's the empath's own unconscious desires and needs being reflected. You're not in love with the person. You're in love with your own shadow, projected onto them. And that's why the attraction is so intense. That's why it feels like destiny. That's why it feels different from anything you've ever felt, because it, in a way, it is. It's you finding lost parts of yourself, parts that you repressed, parts that you rejected, parts that were waiting to be seen. The problem is, those parts are being seen through a distorted mirror, and what the mirror reflects isn't integration. It's dependence. But hold on, because now comes the part that changes everything. There's a specific neurological reason why you keep repeating this pattern, even after you recognize it. And that reason has to do with how your brain processes reward and threat. Huberman explained in several Huberman Lab podcast episodes that the dopaminergic system, the brain's reward system, doesn't just respond to good things. It responds to uncertainty, to unpredictability, to intermittent rewards. And what does the narcissist offer? Exactly that. Moments of intense connection followed by withdrawal, validation followed by criticism, love followed by coldness, the perfect pattern of intermittent reward that traps your dopamine system in a loop of constant seeking. Your brain literally becomes addicted to the pattern, not the person, the pattern. Huberman detailed that this cycle of intermittent reward is the same mechanism behind gambling addiction. The uncertainty about when the next reward will come is more addictive than the reward itself. Your nervous system is constantly on alert, waiting for the next moment of validation. And when that validation finally comes, after days or weeks of coldness, the dopamine release is massive. It feels like relief. It feels like love. It feels like everything will finally be all right, but it won't, because the pattern is designed to never fully satisfy. Complete satisfaction would end the cycle, and the narcissist needs the cycle to keep you trapped. And this explains why you keep attracting the same type of person, because your brain has been conditioned to seek that specific type of stimulation. The unpredictability that feels unbearable is also, neurologically, irresistible. But here's the good news. Neurological patterns can be rewired, and psychological patterns can be integrated. Jung had a word for this process. He called it individuation. It's starting to see the shadow as it really is, not as something to be avoided, not as something to be projected onto others, but as a part of you that needs to be recognized, integrated, transformed. And modern neuroscience gives us practical tools to do exactly that. But before I reveal the protocol, I need to show you something that Jung discovered about the psychological structure of the narcissist, because understanding this will completely change how you see this pattern. Jung and his followers described the psychological structure of the narcissist as a Russian nesting doll of defenses. At the core, there's deep shame. That shame is covered by layers of grandiosity, and the grandiosity is masked by a false self, carefully constructed and presented to the world. This explains why narcissists often react with rage when confronted with genuine emotion or vulnerability. These qualities remind them of what they've worked so hard to suppress. But here's what this means for you. The narcissist didn't choose you randomly. They chose you because you represent everything they've repressed. Your capacity to feel, your willingness to be vulnerable, your connection to deep emotions on an unconscious level. They're as drawn to you as you are to them. They see in you what they've lost, what they sacrificed to build their defenses, what they desire but can't access. And for a moment, through you, they feel like they can have it back. The problem is, they can't. Not this way, not through you, because what they need isn't to absorb your empathy. It's to develop their own. And that's something you can't do for them. And this brings us to the core of the pattern, the reason why it repeats. You keep attracting narcissists because, on some level, you still believe you can cure them, that your love is enough, that if you give enough, absorb enough, regulate enough, they'll finally change. This isn't weakness. It's the shadow of the wounded healer. It's the part of you that learned in childhood that your worth came from taking care of others, that you were loved to the extent that you could fix, absorb, and that belief, that deep programming, is the signal you emit, the signal that the narcissist detects even before you open your mouth. Researchers at the University of Surrey discovered something fascinating. When we put ourselves in someone else's shoes and imagine a situation from their point of view, we actually process that situation using the same parts of the brain that we use to process our own experiences. We automatically experience the situation as the other person would. For the empath, this is amplified. You don't just imagine how the other person feels, you feel how they feel. And that capacity, that extraordinary ability, is exactly what the narcissist is seeking. Because they can't feel adequately. Research has shown that individuals with narcissistic personality disorder have structural abnormalities in brain regions linked to empathy. Specifically, they have less gray matter in the left anterior insula, the region associated with cognitive functioning, emotional regulation, generating compassion, and empathy. The narcissist, on a neurological level, is incapable of doing what you do naturally, and they know it. Unconsciously, they know. And that's why they seek you out, why they find you, why they seem to recognize something in you that others don't see. They see your capacity, and they want to use it, not out of malice, but out of desperation. A hunger they can't satisfy on their own. And now comes the question that will determine whether you continue this pattern or finally break free from it. Are you willing to stop trying to heal others and start integrating yourself? Because that's the only way out. It's not about avoiding narcissists. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need them. Someone who isn't unconsciously seeking the validation that comes from being needed. Someone who has reclaimed their own power instead of projecting it onto others. Carl Jung called this retracting projections. It's the process of recognizing that what you see in another is actually a part of yourself that needs attention. So, here's the protocol, the pattern interruption protocol. In 5 steps. Step 1. Recognize the signal. The first step is to identify exactly what signal you're emitting. And this requires an honest investigation of your childhood. Ask yourself, what was my role in my family of origin? Was I the peacemaker, the mediator, the fixer, the emotional regulator, the person everyone turned to when things got tough? If the answer is yes to any of these, you've developed neural circuits dedicated to detecting and responding to the emotional needs of others. These circuits are active now, at this moment, scanning the environment. And the narcissist can detect this, not consciously, instinctively. They sense that you're someone who will absorb, regulate, care, and they're drawn to that signal like a predator is drawn to prey. The practice here is simple but powerful. For 1 week, observe how many times you automatically assume the role of emotional regulator, how many times you ask how the other person is feeling before checking in with how you are feeling, how many times you offer help before being asked, how many times you absorb the tension in the room. Instead of simply observing it, just observe. Don't try to change anything yet. Awareness is the first step. Step 2. Identify the shadow projected. Carl Jung taught that the shadow is almost always found in projection. What does this mean in practice? It means that what you find irresistible about the narcissist at the beginning of the relationship is exactly what you are repressing in yourself. If you're drawn to their confidence, you're probably repressing your own confidence. If you're fascinated by their ability to say no, you probably have difficulty setting boundaries. If you admire how they put their own needs first, you are probably taught that your needs don't matter. The practice here requires courage. Take a piece of paper, write down all the qualities that attracted you to the last narcissist you were involved with, not the negative behaviors, the qualities that seemed magnetic in the beginning. Now, next to each quality, write, how do I repress this in myself? That list is the map of your shadow projection. It's the guide to integration. Step 3. Reclaim the projected power. This is where most people fail. They identify the pattern, but they don't do anything to change it. Reclaiming the projected power means starting to develop in yourself the qualities that you admired in the other person. If you admired their ability to say no, start practicing saying no in small, low-risk situations. If you were fascinated by their confidence, start making small decisions without consulting others. If you envied how they prioritized their own needs, start identifying and expressing 1 need of your own per day. This isn't about becoming a narcissist. It's about becoming whole. It's about integrating the parts of you that were rejected, so that you no longer need to project them onto others. Jung called this the inner sacred marriage, the union of the opposing parts of the psyche, the end of dependence on others to complete what is incomplete in you. Step 4. Reprogram the reward system. Remember what Andrew Huberman explained about dopamine and intermittent reward? Your brain has been conditioned to seek the pattern of unpredictability that the narcissist offers. To break out of that cycle, you need to consciously reprogram what your brain considers rewarding. The practice here is counterintuitive. Instead of seeking the intensity of emotional chaos, start seeking the calm of predictability. This will seem boring at first, even dull. Because your dopaminergic system is used to the roller coaster, stability doesn't release the same amount of dopamine. But over time, with consistent practice, your brain reconditions itself. Calm starts to feel safe instead of boring. Predictability starts to feel comfortable instead of suffocating. Andrew Huberman recommends 90 days to recondition significant neurological patterns. During those 90 days, consciously choose situations and people that offer emotional stability, even if that initially seems less stimulating. Step 5. Integrate the healer shadow. This is the final and deepest step. Most empaths carry a specific shadow, the belief that their worth comes from healing others, that you are loved to the extent that you are useful, that your purpose is to absorb, regulate, fix. This belief isn't true. It's a childhood survival program that has become a prison in adulthood. Integrating the healer shadow means recognizing that you have value independent of your usefulness to others, that you deserve love not because you give, but because you exist, that your empathy is a gift, not an obligation. The practice here is daily, every morning and before getting out of bed. Complete this sentence. I have value even if I don't help anyone today. I have value even if I don't heal anyone today. I have value even if I put my needs first today. It seems simple, and it's revolutionary, because you are reprogramming the core belief that fuels the entire pattern. Now, I need to warn you about something important. This process will bring resistance, not just external, from the narcissists who will feel that they are losing access to you, but internal, from the part of you that was built around the role of the caretaker. That part will sabotage you. It'll make you feel guilty when you say no. It'll make you feel empty when you're not absorbing someone else's emotions. It'll make you question if you're still a good person. This is normal. It's the shadow resisting integration. It's the old programming fighting to hold on. The difference between those who break the pattern and those who remain trapped in it isn't the absence of this resistance. It's the ability to continue, even with it. Carl Jung said that we make progress not by avoiding the darkness, but by traversing it. Traversing the darkness means facing the resistance, feeling the discomfort, and continuing to integrate anyway. And now comes the part that no one tells you. When you start to integrate your shadow, something strange will happen. You'll stop attracting narcissists, not because you're avoiding them, but because the signal has changed. You're no longer emitting the frequency of availability for absorption. You're no longer projecting the power that the narcissist seeks. You're no longer offering what they desperately need, but can't find in themselves. And the narcissist, who has an almost supernatural ability to detect these signals, simply doesn't see you as a target anymore. You become invisible to them, not interesting, not useful. And in place of the narcissists, you start to attract another type of person, people who don't need you to regulate them, people who have their own emotional integrity, people who see you not for what you can give but for who you are. This isn't magic. It's neurological. It's psychological. It's the direct result of changing the signal you emit. As Dr. Andrew Huberman explains on the Huberman Lab podcast, our brains are constantly scanning the environment, seeking familiar patterns and reinforcing those neural pathways. When you shift your internal landscape, you literally change the patterns your brain is looking for. But I need to be honest with you about one thing. This process isn't quick. Jung estimated that significant shadow integration takes years. Neuroscience suggests at least 90 days to recondition basic patterns, but deep attachment patterns can take longer. And during this process, you may still encounter narcissists. You may still feel the old attraction. You may still fall into the pattern occasionally. When this happens, don't condemn yourself. Treat it as information. What is this situation revealing about parts not yet integrated? Where is the signal still being emitted? What still needs attention? Each encounter with a narcissist after you start this work is a learning opportunity, an indication of where integration is still necessary. Think of it like debugging code. Each error message points you to a specific location in the program that needs fixing, and over time, these encounters become less frequent. The attraction diminishes, the pattern dissolves, not because you're avoiding, because you've transformed, and this transformation, this individuation, as Carl Jung called it, is the true gift hidden in the pattern you so desperately want to avoid. It's like finding the golden ticket inside the chocolate bar of pain. Because the narcissist, as destructive as they are, is showing you something. They're showing you the parts of you that need integration. They're showing you where your power is projected. They're showing you the path to your own integrity. You didn't attract narcissists by chance. You attracted them because you had something to learn. And now that you know what it is, you can finally learn without needing them. In the comments, tell me, what quality of the last narcissist you attracted fascinated you at first? And what does that reveal about your own projected shadow? Think of that initial fascination as a clue, a breadcrumb leading you back to a disowned part of yourself. If this video helped you understand a pattern you couldn't explain, I have a request. In the last few minutes, you received information that connects Jungian psychology with modern neuroscience in a way you won't find anywhere else. A practical protocol to interrupt a cycle that has probably caused you years of suffering. This type of content exists because people like you choose to support it. When you click the golden heart of super thanks, you're not just helping me financially. You're saying continue revealing these connections. Continue translating complex science into real transformation. Each super thanks funds the next research, the next video, the next revelation that can change someone's life. You become an active part of a mission that unites what academia keeps separate. It's like becoming a patron of the arts, but the art is self-discovery. And more importantly, you identify yourself as someone who is choosing to break the pattern, not a passive consumer, an active participant in their own integration. The golden heart is right below. Click it, leave your mark, be part of this transformation. And if you know someone who keeps attracting the same type of person and doesn't understand why, share this video. It might be the information that finally breaks the cycle. It's like giving them the key to unlock their own potential. In the previous video, I showed what happens when the hypersensitive finally explodes. And in the next, I'll explore why awakened people disappear from society. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss it. You're not destined to repeat this pattern forever. You're not a magnet without a choice. You're someone with the ability to understand, integrate, and transform. Carl Jung mapped the psychological path. Andrew Huberman validated the neurological mechanisms. And you, now, have both the map and the validation. The pattern only continues while it remains unconscious. From the moment you see it, you can change it. And from the moment you change internally, the external world responds. The narcissists won't find you anymore, because you won't be emitting the signal, because you will have recovered the power you were projecting, because you will have become whole. And whole people don't need others to complete what's missing. Whole people choose others for who they are, not for what they can give. That's the destiny that awaits on the other side of integration. And it starts with a choice. The choice to stop projecting and start integrating. The choice is yours.